Well, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Let's jump right in and talk about NIL. So over the past couple of years, a lot has changed with NIL, and certainly over the last 6 months. So just to set the stage for our audience, can you talk a little bit about what NIL is and really where it stands today? Where is the movement today?
Sure. You alluded to it. The change in the last 3 years has been probably more in the last 3 years than probably the last 50. So it all started really heavily in June of 2021, when the Supreme Court ruled that the NCAA for the second time was in violation of antitrust. And that triggered a lawsuit that allowed students to capitalize on their name, image, and likeness, NIL. And so from 21 to 24, students were allowed to monetize their NIL and create opportunities for themselves. In that period of time, collectives were created to help students along the way. But what we're starting to see now is universities being more engaged in the process. And so what we've tried to do recently is create an umbrella over all of the efforts that the Rams Club has made, that the university has made, that our collectives have made. And Kevin and his group now runs Carolina NIL, which is both a not-for-profit and a for-profit part, which is the direct support of commercial activity that our students can engage in. So things have changed dramatically, but we think you have a really good plan of how to help our students going forward.
Thank you. Could you break that down a little bit more for us? So with Carolina NIL, that is part of athletics under the athletics department at the university now?
Carolina NIL is a standalone website that tries to aggregate all of the services that we provide to our students and all the resources we provide to students, but also an avenue for our alumni, Rams Club members, and the general public to support our student athletes through NIL activities or through some charitable organizations, including the North Carolina Hall of Fame. And Kevin is the CEO of that organization.
I see. And so before we start to break down a little bit more what the Hall of Fame is versus Oldwell management, can you speak broadly, from an NIL perspective, what kind of money are we seeing other universities do? What do these deals look like? Is that something you can speak to?
Well, a lot of it's just hearsay at this point. So what we're starting to see now is a requirement of transactions to be recorded so that over time we'll see kind of what the fair market value is. And that's part of the reason we wanted to set this up. But through Kevin's leadership and the management of the NIL Collective, North Carolina Hall of Fame, Oldwell Management, we think we'll be able to bring all that together under one roof to make it easier for everyone to understand.
And can you talk a little bit about what the difference is with the NC Hall of Fame, Oldwell Management? So we're bringing them all together. What do they do individually?
Yeah. So NC Hall of Fame is a nonprofit that is driving towards establishing a physical sports Hall of Fame for the university. Piece of that is NIL related in order to have student athletes be involved. There's a community service aspect. We have every athlete who signs with the Hall of Fame engages with charities and our charitable partners in the Orange County community. We work with Table, which is a food insecurity charity. We had members of our women's basketball team at the Ronald McDonald House. Our baseball players put on a clinic for Miracle League of the Triangle, which is a organization for youth sports for children with special needs. So we're in every aspect of the nonprofit community in the area. And then, as Bubba said, with the launch of Oldwell Management, that is the other side of the coin with NIL, which is the commercial outreach. So I think it's easy for folks to think about it like a marketing arm, essentially. So we're there to rep our student athletes with interested brands and to connect them with both local partners for people involved in the Chapel Hill community, but also national brands.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on the public service piece? So it sounds like there's a component where our student athletes are doing some public service volunteer work in the community. And is that associated with their payment? Is that an expectation, or is that just an opportunity that they can choose to be a part of?
Yeah, so any athlete who contracts with the NC Hall of Fame, it's required community service. So we've gone through a process over the last year and a half where we've worked with a number of community service organizations where we have great lines of communication. They let us know what they're looking for. We provide opportunities to all of our student athletes. We're currently working with over half of the sports and programs at UNC with the ability to keep going to the rest. And so we're able to offer student athletes an a la carte menu to choose from of partners that they want to be involved with, because we found if you give them the choice to choose something they're passionate about, they're going to really invest their time and their effort. And the feedback's been great.
So what kind of deals and services do you see Carolina NIL offering our student athletes?
As Bubba mentioned, over time, through the last 3 years, the rules have evolved to allow the university to be more involved. And those are perfect examples of the type of programs that universities can institute as far as financial literacy, tax planning, because this is income. So for many of these student athletes, it's beginning the next step of their life a few years earlier than they would have before. And so with financial gain comes responsibility on that side. So it's something where we're able to put programs in place where they can learn and they can be in school, but also work on developing those professional skills that will help them later in life. And that's, as Bubba said, with the umbrella of Carolina NIL, it's all brought together where it's a piece of the whole. So there's payment going to athletes, but it's responsible in the sense that we're not just going to send them a 1099 at the end of the year and they have no idea how to do that. It's all expected and planned and prepared for. So that way they're able to meet their obligations.
Wonderful. Thank you. I read in the headlines, I think Phil Knight, has pledged an unlimited amount of money to Oregon. Certainly, that's not something all alumni can do. When we're thinking about our alumni and everyday alumni, what message would you like to send them that what can we do to help support Carolina athletics and help support our student athletes?
Don't let Phil Knight outdo you. We need somebody to step up like that. That's right. The kind of person that
make my life very easy.
Yeah.
Carolina, we've been so proud of our Olympic sport programs. And you just mentioned it and asked about, how are the other sports doing? That's important to us. And we have an incredible endowment for the scholarships. We have significant endowments for each of our sports, particularly the Olympic sports. But we're going to need to continue to push that. The commercial activity in sport today has never been greater. The media rights have never been higher. Now we're getting into a different kind of revenue share. What we've had for the past 50 years is revenue sharing where we generate as much as we possibly can by the sports that can generate it and share it with everybody else. But now the revenue share seems to be more directed at if your sport generates it, you should share in that revenue. And so that's going to leave some of these other sports a little more at risk. So our charge today from a philanthropic standpoint is let's support the Olympic sports. Let's work on commercial activity that we can do as a university. So we're commercial already. We're going to get more commercial as a department so that we can help fund the NIL activity of students. We're going to work with our students. Our students are going to compete for us, but occasionally the students are going to compete with us for commercial dollars. And that's just something we're going to have to get used to. It's very, very different than what's been in the past.
So it sounds like we have a lot of challenges. We have opportunities, and we're now set up with a structure that helps us hopefully to really fulfill and take advantage of those opportunities. But what for you do you think the biggest challenge or your biggest concern about where we are with NIL today?
My biggest concern is that we continue to provide great experiences for our students and that we provide an athletic program and an array of athletic opportunities for these kids that this university is going to be proud of. That's always is my biggest concern. Now we're going to have to generate commercial activity, revenue, tickets. All of those things are all part of it. But if we can provide a great experience, we'll figure out the financial model that makes it work.
Thank you. And in your opinion, how is Carolina NIL different than other NIL programs at other universities? Do we have different components? Are they very similar? I'm wondering specifically the public service piece. Is that common for the various NILs, or does it make Carolina's program unique?
The public service component is certainly unique. There are a few schools that have programs somewhat like it, but ours is very expansive. And is something that we're proud of. And it's a way to remedy a situation, like you said, where a school may have one or two boosters who are providing all of the funds. It's a way to grassroots and capitalize on the commitment of the community to the athletic program. So it's something that makes ours special.
So tell me, do you think Carolina is going to be able to compete at the highest level in the country? I know it's very competitive. You know, we've talked a little bit about some very famous alumni at other universities pouring in money, and it just seems like it's the schools that are able to generate the most revenue, raise the most money, are going to have the most competitive teams. Is that how you see it? And how do you feel we compare against some of the other schools?
No, we're going to be highly competitive in everything we offer. If that were the case, the New York Yankees would win the World Series every year. It's resources certainly important. I mean, if you don't have a financial underpinning to what you're trying to do, it's simply a dream. You do need finances, but not the team with the most money wins every time. You have to have great people. You have to have dedication, commitment. We've got resources here that other people don't have. They've got this great campus. We have this community. We've got the support. We have facilities. We have so many things going for us that we're going to be competitive.
That's great to hear.
Including financially.
Yes.
That's right. And earlier you alluded to the platform, the deal transparency platform that the NCAA launched, I think, earlier this week. That will really anonymize the deals that go in there. So there's more transparency around the NIL deals nationwide. Will you think that will help bring some order to and insight into how NIL is progressing? And will that help us?
I think there's a couple of ways to look at it. I think the important piece of what we're building going forward is on the commercial side and leveraging the UNC brand and the high profile nature of the student athletes and really providing substance to what you're selling to brands. So it's part of the services aspect that's going to be provided is around social media training and really preparing yourself to be a brand as an athlete, because it's the coupling of the UNC brand and the brand of the individual athlete that sells. So that side of it is uncapped. It's not donor reliant. It's not fundraising reliant.
Mm-hmm.
It's reliant on performance of the student athlete and what they can bring to brands. I think that's the most exciting piece about where we're going is that is a model that weathers storms of if there's a bad result on the field, fundraising can be impacted, but the brand that the player has built will not be impacted. So I think it's important that we push all these pieces so that way we're able to be flexible and responsive. And it's the right way to build the Olympic sports side because those folks are extremely popular when they are able to build that side. And so we feel good that we're pushing in that direction as a sustainable model to move forward.
Thank you. And the other group we haven't talked much about that I think most of our alumni are familiar with is the Rams Club. They're now part of the group, the consolidated NIL Carolina. What is their part to play in all of this?
Well, that is our philanthropic arm. So we're going to have the philanthropic arm. We have an endowment that we currently have, and we've got this commercial arm. So participation in any one of those three is what we're going to continue to talk about. So we have a lot of generous donors in the Rams Club. We're going to continue to ask them to support our programs, but they also have commercial dollars, as Kevin just alluded to. Their businesses can benefit by an association with the university and with the student. And I think we'll have to explore those. But the Rams Club primary responsibility is to raise philanthropic dollars that support Carolina athletics. And how we support them going forward is going to be a little bit different. Endowments for the Olympic sports will be something that we're going to emphasize a lot in the next couple of years.
And is there anything else like NIL to watch that we're watching in the news that we're waiting to see, where something lands to be able to move forward? Or are we ready to move forward?
We're ready to move forward, Kevin indicated. The one thing that I'm not sure people are aware of is that beginning in the fall of 25, universities will be able to buy the NIL rights of students. So we can pay them so that we can promote them. Mm-hmm. That will be a wrinkle that will be very, very different. And so then when you get in, and I keep talking about this commercial space, we have been slow to the commercial space. We were slow in signage. We were slow in different graphics and things of that nature. We're going to be more aggressive. You might see logos on outfield fences and walls that we haven't had in the past. You might see logos on fields or on courts. You might see jersey patches. You might see things that we have not, as this university, we were not comfortable with that. But as the landscape has changed, and as you had mentioned, we want to be competitive. So we're going to have to really push. And I think we have great growth potential in the commercial space. And that's probably something that we're going to have to get more comfortable with as a university community.
Well, thank you. Change is hard. It's different, but it's exciting, and it's going to be an exciting time for our student athletes as well. So thank you for the time. This has been,
Of course.
really helpful. We will be cheering on the heels.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks
Appreciate you
for all
having
the
us.
support.
Yes.